Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Friday. Yeah, the madness, March Madness. How do your brackets look? Anyone have Oakland over Kentucky? Probably not. A lot of brackets busted all over the world. As a ton of upsets yesterday. I got lucky at one of my pools. We don't pick the whole thing. Instead, you get random teams. You know, you pick them out of a hat, and then everybody's got a dollar amount we all can spend, and you bid on the teams. Well, I do have North Carolina State, so they pulled off a big upset last night. So at least I got a little something going in one of my pools. Everywhere else, yeah, it's not looking so good. But day two today, Grand Canyon. Yeah, the local college now, they're the 12 seed against St. Mary's. I'll be watching that game. About a lot of friends of mine, kids graduated from Grand Canyon. They got quite the college basketball scene. It's kind of sad because Arizona State is kind of like the ugly stepchild. You know, Tucson's got U of A, and ASU's supposed to be the next big thing. But when it comes to basketball, if you haven't seen Grand Canyon, you should go check that game out. It's wildly entertaining. The students are a lot of fun, but they'll be playing today as well. And then, of course, all weekend long, Colorado, right? They're playing Colorado State. Man, they had a play-in game, and they demolished Virginia. Thought, oh, my gosh, they're going to make a run, and then no. Yesterday, they said, nope, you're gone. Out you go. But always a lot of fun in March Madness because there's always, if your team isn't in it, like my team, I'm a Syracuse fan. I was born and raised there, and they've been on the down for way too many years now. They haven't been in the tournament for like 4 or 5 years, something like that, and it really does bum me out. But then when I see Kentucky get beat by a school that most people can't even pick out on a map, it does make me feel better, Jason.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of picking on games. I didn't do a lot of betting. I probably should because I'm usually pretty good at picking the teams. I think when I was in high school, I decided I wanted to stop betting on teams because it just made my friends not so friendly with me. But I remember, right? You know, when you beat someone and take their money, it's just
right.
Anyways,
right.
Maybe just my friend group. But there was one year I was working at a pizza shop and they decided to have the thing where you pick all the the brackets. And so I was like, well, I don't know none of this. You know, these college teams. I know a little bit. I know Duke is good and things like that. But so I just picked I picked all the higher seeds except for one. I only picked one upset, and I picked them to go all the way. And the only reason I did is because I liked football. And Kurt Warner was my favorite player, and he played for Northern Iowa. And I forget what year it was, Joe, but Northern Iowa beat Kansas, like the number 2 seed, and went all the way to the Elite Eight before they lost. And everyone was really angry with me. He was like, why did you even pick that team? And finally, the boss, the owner,
Iowa, right? Yeah, right.
Finally, the owner's like, he was putting it together because of the Cardinal Super Bowl had just been before that. And he's like, is that where Kurt Warner went to college? I was like, yeah, that's the only reason I picked this. I think I won the thing. I think I had the most correct picks or something just because a lot of the higher seeds were winning that year. So there you go.
There you have it. There's the March Madness. 800-951-0592 is our toll-free number. AllAmericanGold.com is the website. And gold's kind of like right where it was on the show yesterday. And I thought, don't be surprised yesterday if gold closes at an all-time high. Didn't quite get there. Got to like 21.85. But right now, everywhere, the Dow, everyone's just kind of taking some profits today. Gold's down 13, 21.72. Silver's off 10 cents. The Dow and all the indices are lower today. After I think a lot of people caught off guard with the central bank meeting where Jay Powell and his cronies still sticking to a lot of rate cuts, even with inflation continuing to rise here in 2024. But maybe things like this. Olive Garden, Longhorn Steakhouse, that's Darden Restaurants, saying that same-store sales are going to be down for the first time in years. transactions from incomes below $75,000. Now, I don't know, how do they know this? How do they know that your income's below $75,000? I guess if you're swiping your card at Olive Garden or Longhorn, right? They've got data mining. They know exactly who you are. Transactions from income below $75,000 were much lower than last year at every brand. Transactions fell for incomes below $50,000. And they said the shift was most pronounced in our fine dining segment. They say that, unfortunately for them, the incomes that really matter are the incomes below $150,000. But they said that, hey, the one place where things were okay was people that made more than $150,000. We're still coming to the Darden restaurants. Same-store sales growth now anticipated to be negative. The company shares down about 7%. Then Lululemon. This is very popular in the teen, 20, 30-something crowd. I will say this. My wife thinks they make really good clothes because our two boys, they do a lot of Lululemon. And they came out late yesterday saying that sales are a little soft coming into the year. And Nike said, hey, people aren't buying sneakers nearly as much. Their shares are down 8% this morning. So maybe, Jason, maybe there's something to this. Hey, we need to cut rates. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason wrapping up the week here. A whole nother week of March. I can't wait for what next week is going to bring. But a quick look here at the markets. The Dow's down 150. The S&P's down 7. The Nasdaq's down as well. The 10-year note is lower. 4.21, not surprising, right? As the Fed says, hey, we're still going to cut rates. Oil at $81. Like we said, gold, $21.72. Silver, $24.75. And Jason, we keep telling everybody, listen, this is going to be a year. Call it the year of chaos. We're going to see a lot of moves, big moves, moves up, moves down, strange head-scratching moves, and then, of course, the election and what's going to happen there, and how is the country going to react no matter which one of the guys, whether Trump wins, Biden wins, right? There's bound to be some very volatile reactions. Yesterday, we had the illegal immigrants ripping down the fencing in Texas and essentially just almost like a riot overwhelming the Texas National Guard at the border. I mean, there's so many things, and we are warning you guys, listen, you got to prepare now because it's really about 2025, 2026, 2027, and beyond. And I'm going to just tell you, wait till we talk about what the Republicans are finally willing to talk about for right now. Is Social Security really going to be there? I know that people don't want to talk about it, and everybody's been pretending. And, of course, I told you, listen, Medicare and Medicaid run out of money first in 2026. Be diversified. We keep telling you. Check out our friends at Y-Refi. If you have $50,000 or more, you can use an existing IRA. Some of you can use a 401k. You can get 10.25% fixed rate of return. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be a good number in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and beyond, because it's going to get a lot more difficult, especially what I talk about next. Get yourself diversified. Do yourself a favor. Listen, this isn't correlated to Wall Street. It doesn't matter what Wall Street doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the Fed does. Doesn't matter if it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump. It doesn't matter. There's no fees. You can use it as income. You can compound it. You can do whatever you want. You can turn your income on one month and off the next month. Whatever you want to do. And if you ever need your money back, there is no attack on principle, and it really is. It's a pretty cool thing what they do with the private student loans and how many people they've been helping in America today. If the government would just get out of the way, check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or just make it easy and call them at 888 YRefi 24. So right now, we go into debt, the nation, about $30 billion a day. I mean, that's insanity, right? $30 billion a day. And here's the problem. That number's only going to get worse. On Wednesday, the largest caucus of House Republicans has called for an increase in the Social Security retirement age. According to Bloomberg, the Republican committee, which comprises about 80% of House Republicans, saying that they should change the, now get this. This isn't, hey, let's add a year. You know, we'll move it to 68 or 69 or 70 or 71. Saying that Social Security eligibility age needs to be tied to life expectancy in the 2025 fiscal budget. So, Jason, they're talking about, hey, starting October 1st, we need to make the change. I'm going to tell you right now, this is something where right now, what is life expectancy? Upper 70s, 76, 77, maybe even 70. It came down a little bit because of COVID, but it's in the upper 70s. Essentially, what Republicans are talking about, I think this is, no matter what happens, I think before 2030, this is what it's going to be. You're not retiring, right? You're oh, you know, the whole 65 thing, I guess when they started it in 1933, that was probably the life expectancy. Jason, this is the first thing that at least gets a little bit real. Of course, the retirement age for Social Security now, full benefits, is 67. You can retire at 62 and get partial benefits. And now they're talking about, you know what? We got to fix this, and we got to fix it pretty quick here. How about we just go back to what life expectancy is? And, Jason, that just means the vast majority of Americans that you don't get to retire.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I mean, it depends as the years go on how legit the dollar still is. I think the dollar is going to stay legit. I don't know how important it will be, but the worse the dollar does, the worse this will be, because you know, America is able to soak up a lot of money by having the world reserve currency. Now, when you see retire, you know, the Social Security is running out, Medicaid, Medicare is going to be hard to fund, Joe. It's not like there's going to be a switch and they just stop paying. And one thing about this slow market crash where we've been watching the last year and a half, 2 years after the inflation roared. It did show that there's a lot of extra money floating around by big players, and it seems like there's a lot of ways the government can keep kicking the can down the road, but it really depends on how many foreign countries and how many interests stay in the dollar. So if the dollar is somewhat legit, I think you're right, Joe, you won't be able to retire. They're going to push the age up. They're going to continue to lower the standard of living, but it's just, you know, it's a slow process of getting people to get used to, you know what? All right, you'll get your Social Security. Oh, you'll be 75, but you know what? You'll be living in a tiny home, which will be an apartment. You know, the 500 square foot apartment might be making a comeback in 5 years. You know, and people having to live like that. I mean, if you want to live like that, then Social Security will still be around. There'll be enough big payers to milk it, but it really depends on the dollar, Joe. I really wonder how, I don't think the dollar's going away. I just don't think so, but I think it's going to be like the pound. The pound was the world reserve currency. It's still around. It's just not as legit. It was replaced. How much will the dollar be replaced in these years? And that will affect Social Security and Medicaid by a lot. That's just the way it's going to be.
They also talked about Medicare and Medicaid. Then the Republicans saying we've got to drastically rein in cost on all of the programs. I have a theory here. So right now, as you guys know, there is no trust fund. Okay, they taxed us all back in the early 80s. Part of the big Reaganomics, part of the big tax cuts to businesses and all this other stuff, and they threw out tax cuts to you and I, but the one thing they did is they jacked up the FICA tax, right? And we're collecting way more money for Social Security than they needed. That was a change. Social Security used to be pay as you go. So whatever they needed for the next year, they'd, every 5-10 years, they'd raise the FICA tax a little bit. Well, this time they said, no, we got to prepare for the baby boomers. Let's build this nest egg. Well, problem was Congress spent the money. So they pretend like they buy all these non-marketable treasuries. Well, here's the problem now. Social Security isn't bringing in enough money. And really, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and this quote-unquote trust fund is coming due. And it gets a little, every month there's a little less in it, a little less in it, a little less in it. Well, what are they doing? Jason, they have to sell debt to fund these things. And I think what they're really talking about right now is somebody's finally told them, hey, guys, are you listening? Hey, 2026, we're going to have a big problem. And I know we keep telling people, don't worry, Social Security will go to 2033. No, it won't. Why do I say it won't? Well, because Medicare and Medicaid go broke first. So what do we got to do? We got to divert money that was supposed to be in the Social Security fund over there. They know that. We know that. I think they're realizing, wait a minute, this is going to be an avalanche of debt that needs to be sold on top of all the debt that needs to be rolled over. Because you got to remember, this debt isn't really, it was in make-believe land. It's now coming into, we got to join the real world, issue. Rolling over debt, right? This year is going to be just under $9 trillion, plus the new debt. So we're going to be, $11 trillion. And this little deal here with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security over the next, let's just talk about the next 5 years. Jason, we're going to see hundreds of billions of extra debt that needs to be sold on top of all this other debt when we already don't have enough people wanting to buy all of our debt. And I think this is really why they're starting to get serious. I mean, this is a big change. This isn't going from 65 to 67. No, this is going from 67 to 77, 77, 78. Right? Hey, we're going to add another 10, 11 years before people can retire. I think that gives you an idea of how big the problem really is going to become.
Agreed, Joe. Agreed. And Jerome Powell. Yeah, I don't watch the Jerome Powell meetings as well as much as you do. I do watch some of the guys that respond to it. That way they kind of cut it up for me, make it easier for me because it's pretty dry. Did you hear? There's a couple things that happened that I don't know if you. I don't think we spoke about this, but he said it as he's being questioned that he said I might be able to play it here too. There will be bank failures.
Oh yeah.
He said that.
Oh, no.
And then the commercial real estate went from $600 billion in maturities, and they just went up to $960 billion. 2024 just got really bad this week, and I don't know how many people really even looked at those two things. Jerome Powell kind of squeaked out that comment, and that commercial real estate maturities just went up 30 to 40% this year. That's like a bomb ready to go off. So it's 2024 is really, there's something really fantastic is going to happen this year, Joe.
This is something where we haven't even really started this slow motion train wreck that is the commercial real estate. But now you're starting to get a bunch of people they're talking about in certain cities that they're going to have to tear these buildings down. Like, they're not worth anything, right? They're the cost to retrofit to turn an office tower into apartments. You know what? You're just better off tearing down entire buildings. You got to think about these buildings. They used to be worth, on paper, hundreds of millions of dollars, and essentially a lot of people are saying, man, they may be worth absolutely nothing.
Remember what China was doing 2 and 3 years ago? Imploding huge buildings that had no value that they couldn't sell. Isn't it interesting, Joe, how it just seems to be a contagion across the world, right?
Yeah, and this is, Jason's talking about $900 billion. That's losses of $900 billion, right? I mean, that's just losses. There's $6 trillion of this stuff. 800-951-0592. It's going to be really interesting how many banks are going to be not present any longer by the time 2025 ends. I think it's going to be in the hundreds. I think it's going to be predominantly in the smaller banks. There's going to be a lot less choice out there for a lot of people where hey, it's going to be the big banks or no banks. The amount of debt that needs to be rolled over on top of the amount of debt we add to it every year. Now on top of, the Social Security Trust Fund, the money's draining faster and faster now, which means even more debt, right? You kind of get the picture now. It looks like we're going to need some form of bank rescue program. We will. Right, the Fed's going to do some kind of program at some point to try to save some of these banks. It's going to be interesting with the $168 billion and the one bank program that they no longer can use. They have to pay that back by next year. I don't know how any of that is going to work out. That's why we keep saying this year's the year of chaos. I think next year it is the year of pain, and this is why you want to be prepared. And this is probably why, even with inflation well above target, you hear Jay Powell talking about we need to cut rates. We're still on track. Think about it. They're talking about not only cutting rates this year, next year, the following year. They're also talking openly about banks going to be failed banks that are going to be merged out of existence. You need to be ready. These are all signs. They're telling you without telling you. It'd be nice if they just said it the way I just did. Wouldn't that be nice? That'd be easy. No, but they don't. And this is why so many people are running to gold. This is why Wall Street is beside themselves. They're like, but wait, we own the paper markets and, the ETFs, we sold some gold out of the ETF. It shouldn't. Why is it rallying? Why is it at all-time highs? Because everybody else is buying gold and they don't care about the price because that's not why they're. China's not buying gold because the price was $1,800 or $1,900, and all of a sudden, now that it's almost $2,200, they're going to stop buying. No. Matter of fact, what we're hearing is they don't even care about the price. They're trying to get away from dollars. They're taking money that used to be held in U.S. treasuries. They're rolling over some of it, but not all of it. And what they're doing, remember, they used to roll it all over and add, right? They used to, hey, we got to roll over $100 billion. Well, okay, we're going to do that. We're going to rebuy another, and then we're going to throw another $20 billion on top of it. And that was how we could live with all these big debts. That's not happening anymore. Now they're like, okay, we got to roll over $150 billion. Well, we're going to roll over 120. And we're not adding anything, right? And what are you going to do with the other $30 billion? Well, we're going to buy gold. We're going to buy gold. That's what we're doing. And guess what? So is everybody else. So is everybody else. And it's really not that complicated. They know all these things. They see the path we're on. They see, I mean, think about it. The budget proposal for next year, $7.3 trillion. And people are laughing because they're like, okay, 7.3. They're going to spend more than that. They're going to spend more than that. And by the way, they don't have anywhere close to the money they need. And when they look out, well, can it get better in 2025 or 2026? Can it get better in 2027, 2020? And the answer is no. Now you have them talking about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid going, oh, crap. We got a problem. And how much more is that going to add to the debt? This is why you put gold away. We got a big Friday special for you. All you guys that like to put away $20 gold and stack it, $20 gold pieces today, 1 through 19, $23.95. 20 or more, $23.85. 50 or more, $23.75 at 800-951-0592. And Jason, I just think it's something where when we look at what's happening, and especially what's been coming out over the last few weeks, where all the people that are in the paper pits are saying price doesn't seem to matter to these central banks. They just want out of the dollar, and they're going to be buying gold. They've got they see it. Listen, they've got gold set up to be bought in August, in October, in December, in February, in April, in June of next year. They see all of these people. There's a schedule. They know exactly that, hey, guess what? These banks are saying we're not stopping. And really, it's kind of like you said, the dollar's still going to be around. It's just not going to be as important as it used to be.
It's going to lose value. It's been losing value. Now, when they say the dollar is up, it's usually because the dollar is up versus other currencies. All the currencies are crap. It's a world system. If there was actually a competing system, which they pretend the BRICS is going to be a competing system, I have a feeling that's a mirage. But when you value currencies against other currencies, you're basically, it's the big pile of dew. You know, it's who's on, if the dollar's on the top of excrement pile of stuff that's really got value that you want to stay away from, then what value does it really have? So Joe, it's just really look at the value of the dollar versus gold. All you have to do is pull up a 100-year gold chart. And it looks like gold's going up, 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 up. Well, the ounce of gold, how many times do we say it, has done nothing. It's worth the same. It's the same value. The dollar has gone down. When an ounce of gold goes back to $300, which is not going to happen, then you'll know the dollar is really something to put your money into. That's the way you're going to know that the dollar is something you should value. It is not to be valued. It is faster than ever losing value. I mean, Joe, we can talk about $100 spot price going up in gold in a week. It can very easily happen in the future, as a regular thing. Every week, $100. $100. If gold's going to go to $4,000, it could be $100 a week for a lot of weeks. Gold used to just be $20. How bad is the dollar? How bad is this stuff that you have sitting in your bank account, right, Joe?
Patriot Radio News Hour will be back. Another nation telling the U.S. to get out, and maybe we'll buy stuff in renminbi. That coming up next. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Friday. We got a $20 gold trust. So you know what? I forgot the biggest part of this. These $20 gold pieces, first of all, the price is fantastic. 1 through 19, $23.95. 20 or more, $23.85. 50 or more, $23.75. And these are AU Liberties and Saints. You get to pick. You want Saints, you want Libs, you want a mix. And almost uncirculated. These things are going to, think about this. These things are, especially like the Liberties. I mean, the Liberties, they're all well over 100 years old, right? The Saints, the majority of the Saints are over 100 years old. There's only a few dates now, right? We're running out of dates where they'll all be 100 years old plus. In almost uncirculated condition, these things are going to look fantastic. They're going to look shiny and bright. Most people will be like, I can't believe, like, you imagine you get a Liberty from 1877 and you're looking at it and this thing looks, it's not going to be brand new, right? But it'll look that way. There'll be some coin marks and some things like that on it. But Jason, these are going to be really, really high-end looking $20 gold pieces. You can mix them. You can match them. Saints or Libs, your choice. And it's $25 cheaper than our regular price on our Liberties and Saints today. If you buy 50 or more, it's $45 a coin less, and you're getting up and getting some really great things. And then on the silver side, listen, I've got 2 bags of quarter bags of quarters. So there's, 1,000 silver quarters. I've got 2 bags still remaining at $4,750. So we got great value in gold and silver today at 800-951-0592. And earlier this week, and this is something I've been meaning to talk about, and I just haven't gotten there, Niger has told the United States to get out of the country. We have a base there, an army base there. We have over 1,000 troops at this base. Niger has said there was a revolution. They overthrew the government. The people now that are in charge are saying, get out. We want relationships with China, Russia, and Iran, and you need to leave the country immediately. Right now, Jason, there's some backdoor communication where the United States is trying to stay in the country, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And now all of a sudden, here comes another one. People are, it's just Niger. I mean, who cares about them? Believe me, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I'd really like Joe Biden or Donald Trump to answer the question, why is it important that we have a base and troops in Niger? And watch them, have no answer to it. Obviously, they were prepped. I'm sure that they can come up with some long-winded, ridiculous answer. But, Joe, it's not important to be there. But, of course, if you have control, how many times have we talked about control in the last couple of weeks? That's why it's there. It's about control. And this is losing control. And this is another one. This goes right back to this is a business transaction. All these wars and all these conflicts, this is just a business transaction. Somebody is moving away from the dollar. That's all there is to it. This is a business transaction, and Niger is showing other countries that want to do the same thing that if they're successful, this will be more countries moving away from the dollar, Joe. So, it's important when it comes to the finances of the world. But other than that, like I said, I'd love to see someone ask the question of the guys that are running for president and watch them fumble through that answer if they're not prepared. It'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, and it's something where there's oil there, obviously already,
Yep.
right? We're seeing a lot of the oil nations in the Middle East and now Africa, right? That little area there where there's a lot of oil. All of them out there now seemingly drifting towards going to taking renminbis. India, right? They're on record as saying, hey, we want at least 10% of sales to be in our currency with the OPEC nations. And Jason, it just keeps adding and adding and adding. And it's something where, okay, there's a little less need for buying treasuries. There's a little less need for buying. There's another need, a little less need, and another. And next thing you know, you take 5, 10, 15 little things, and all of a sudden, that's one big thing of people not wanting treasuries, and that's really what this is about. This is a debt issue. It's funny when we think about control and this and that, right? This is just another one of these little things where if this comes to, which it looks like it's coming to fruition here, that more dollars need to be gobbled up by who? Right? That's the problem. Right? Our banks, the dealers of these treasury auctions, right, they're already like, man, we're out of the fund money, right? The reverse repo money's gone. It really is over the next, and again, this isn't tomorrow. But this problem gets worse and worse. Every 3 to 6 months, we hear the Treasury announce, okay, we got to sell more debt. Oh, wait, we got to sell more debt. And all of a sudden, all of the debt that needs to be rolled over, less and less people roll over all of that debt, and it creates problems. And then our banks are stuck with it. It's going to be interesting how it all plays out. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason wrapping up a Friday. Stay with us. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason wrapping up the week here. AU, Liberties, and Saints. We got a couple hundred of these. We got a great pile of them, and this is what's going to happen, right? Because it's all disappearing. So we've sold graded coins lately. Now we got the AU. You can mix and match however you want to do it. 23.95, 1 through 19, 20 or more, 23.85, 50 or more, 23.75. And then the 2 quarter bags of quarters. That's 1,000 silver quarters. $4,750. Boy, Lululemon down almost 20% now as they've said guided sales really slowing down. Get ready, all you coffee and candy eaters out there, especially you chocolate lovers out there. Prices have just gone just insane now. Cocoa contracts have hit a new record, over $9,000 a ton. City says that they're going to reach $10,000 a ton or more. Stay in record high territory for all of 2024 and all of 2025. And right now what I'm hearing about cocoa, there's just a battle to try to have anything to produce. And right now they're saying that the cash contracts well above what the paper contracts in New York. But again, one of those things, Jason, can we have an economic slowdown and rising inflation? And it looks like the answer is going to be yes.
I think there's a chance that we could have higher rates and printing going on at the same time, Joe, and it's going to be massively inflated. It's now they might lower the rates a quarter point or a couple quarter points at the end of the year, and that might have a various range of reasons, but I don't think I'm not going to see 3%. 2%. They're not going to lower the rates that much, Joe. And I was looking at your Niger story a little bit closer, and I think they want to bring in Russian troops or something to help protect their situation. They're bordered by like 7 countries, and those are all not the best of countries to be bordered by. And so you move the American base out, and of course there'll be some rebellion from Libya or Algeria, Chad, Nigeria. So some's going to cross the border and start problems, even with Russian troops there, and you can have another Ukraine just like that.
Oh, well, again, right? Look at the price of ammunition and gunpowder, right? War.
Yep.
The war drums continue to beat. Why not, right? That just makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Right? All of a sudden now, all of these crazy things happening, unrest in Haiti, unrest in Cuba. We're getting swarmed at the border. They're tearing down fences and swarming the National Guard in El Paso. I mean, it's just chaos, right? It's the year of chaos, right? March Madness has definitely lived up to its name. Get your gold and silver put away. 800-951-0592. And Jason, who knows? Man, can only imagine what's going to happen next week, right? There's so much to talk about. Hey, God bless everybody. Jason and I, we're coming right back with our short edition of the half-empty cup. So go to 1360khnc.com. Follow us there. We'll be right back.